being transgender has always been like this, it was always that very dark secret that I kept in a closet. I was in Eastern Africa, in Somalia and Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. And we're making drinks, and then he looks at me, he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I'm like, "Bartending." I'd been clean off the drugs for a couple years, and I'm, kind of excited about all this potential. And then I get here and just fall into the same bullshit that I had been doing my entire life. And, I start the drug habit back up, and I'm depressed about, just trying to figure out me. And next thing you know, I'm like a full-blown addict again. I lose my job, I lose my home, and I end up living in a box in Bed-Stuy.
What?
Yes. Like the phoenix rising from the ashes. It was time for me to make... So I decided, knife to wrist. I'm either going to, end this misery, because if I kept going how I was, I'm living a lie. I'm never going to be who I want to be or who I really am. And I'm just going to be this dark, depressed human being. But, maybe I'll get to keep my friends and family. Or on the other side, I can at least attempt to be myself, with the potential of losing everybody I love because they're just not going to understand it. And that's the option I took. While living in a box. I got myself a real hair wig, and it felt pretty sassy about myself, and it was finally starting to look good. And I'm like, I'm going out there, I'm going to face the rejection. And this is 11 years ago. So being trans wasn't, what it is today. It was me, Caitlyn Jenner, which everybody wanted to ask me what my thoughts were. And so I interviewed, and people looked at me like I had a horn growing out of my head. I was sprouting wings all of a sudden. I went to some job interviews, people couldn't even look at me. And I'm just like, oh my God. I was like, what am I doing? And then I ended up getting a bartending job at this brand new, fine dining restaurant in Harlem. And I was just like, yes. And I knew that everything was going to be okay when one of my best friends now, I just met her, and she's like, wow, you're tall. And I was just like, yeah, do you know why? And she's like, I don't know, because are you German? And I'm like, well, I mean, yes, I am very German, but no, that's not why I'm so tall. From there, I was just like, man, I'm on an upward trajectory, to the point where all of this culminated where I'm now working, at world famous bars again. Mm-hmm. I was the GM. I mean, I can say beverage director, but that would be a bit much. I got to control the buying of the spirits, right. And I helped out creating cocktails, and I was lucky enough to get, the mentorship of Southern Tea. And in the beginning of my bartender career, I was lucky enough to get, the mentorship of Del DeGroff. And that was really what set me off on my entire bartending, career, really caring about my craft. And, so certain people have come into my life at certain times that have just helped me along. And it's now I'm running Amoria Margot. Now I'm running, Mother of Pearl.
So how did you find yourself partnered with David in Saint Luna?
So I didn't know David, and I kind of knew Chalky, and I was she kept doing all of her Doom Tiki events, way out in Richwood. Well, shit, I'm running Mother of Pearl. You're doing Doom Tiki. You're out in the boondocks. Why don't you bring it into the East Village and let's really beef this up, you know? And it was so funny because Honeybees above us was the American Whiskey Bar. I had the Doom Tiki event going on in Mother of Pearl. And then I had, Amoria Margot, which was its normal crazy self. Yeah. And I'm the only manager, and I got my head on a swivel. And then all of a sudden, Chalky's like, hey, I want you to meet this guy. So David approaches me, and he's like, hey, I'm David. I own this, moonshine. And I was like, oh, cool. I tasted it. And I was like, man, I really wish I had the time to like sit down and talk to you. But I was like, I'm the only manager. I got, bands, charity, more, all this nonsense. Let's exchange info and we'll get back to each other. I helped close down Mother of Pearl, Honeybees, and More. And that was like one of the saddest days I've had. But life goes on, things progress, and I'm, living my best quarantine life on that sweet, sweet unemployment. Yeah. All of a sudden, I get this text message like, hey, I live next to Central Park. I've got 2 dogs, and I'm bored to tears. Like, you want to hang out? I'm like, who the hell is this? And it's like, oh, it's David, the Moonshine guy. I'm like, what? What's a David, the Moonshine guy? I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I remember you. Yeah. And so I went down. We hung out in the park with him and Bernie and Edge, his 2 puppies, and we had a good time. And next thing you know, I'm like styling cocktails for David for photo shoots, and we created this friendship. 2021 rolls around. Robbie DeRossi hits me up, the owner of Death & Co. and Maury Margo and all them, and he's like, Aubrey, I need you. I'm like, cool. What can I do for you? He's like, I'm opening up a new place. He's like, I need you to help me open it up. I'm like, perfect. He's like, it's going to be a part-time job, maybe 15 hours a week. Here I am getting there at like 10 in the morning, work until like 7 at night. I'm like organizing cleaning schedules, hiring people, helping build the back bar, literally designed the bar for the, redesigned it with blueprints and everything. And then, we're getting next to like 2 weeks before grand opening. Everybody's trained, everybody's hired, all the stuff is happening. And David is like, hey, would you like to go on a business trip with me to Pittsburgh for sales of Saint Luna? He's like, people there, let's do this. And I'm like, yeah, why not? We go to Pittsburgh, we open up like 8 accounts in a day and a half. We're sitting at this famous diner in Pittsburgh and having breakfast. He's like, I want you to be my business partner. And I was like, oh, jeez. I was like, way to throw a wrench into a girl's machinery. I was just like, Christ. I was like, we're getting ready to open up this brand new cocktail bar. I was like, grand opening is like less than 2 weeks away. I was like, I have to think about this. And then I sat down with Robbie when I got back, and I was like, Robbie, I was like, I don't know what to say. I know we're getting ready to open, but I've been presented with this amazing opportunity to be a brand owner. And I just needed to talk to you. And he was just like, thank you for telling me. He's just like, my God. He's just like, I have so many people blowing smoke up my ass all the time. I'm opening up like 3 spots.
Yeah.
He's like, thank you for actually telling me. And he's like, of course. He's like, I love you, Aubrey. And I wish you so much success. And I want you to know that if anything were to happen with this company, he's like, you always have a home here. And I was like, and that's all I needed to hear. And then, bam, 3 years later, here I am, sitting at the bar with you, one of the co-owners of Saint Luna Moonshine, one of Wine Enthusiast Future 40, blah, 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 super cool.
Yeah. One thing we do because we have to wrap it up because you and I are about to work an event together.
That we are, my friend.
We like to share like 1 or 2 really ridiculous bartending stories, like industry related.
Okay. All right.
5, so yeah.
Oh, you need a story, huh?
Yeah, if you got a good one. It could be.
All right.
Yeah.
So I was working at this place in San Francisco, and there was this group of gentlemen who would always come into the bar. There's always, very dapper, always dressed to the nines, super cool guys, always tipped well, spent good money. They were a lot of fun. And one night, it's like a Saturday night, they came in. So we're all closing up the bar, the restaurant. And it was one of those restaurants where it's like, it was the industry restaurant. We were like we were open till, I think, 1. And in San Francisco, that's like super late. Like that place shuts down at like midnight. Of course you could serve till 2. Maybe it was around 2. But anyway, one of the gentlemen, this is like 3-piece suit, looking really good, comes back in, And the first thing he comes up and says to me, he's like, hey, do you guys have an extension cord? I'm like, what? I was like, an extension cord? He's like, yeah. He's like, maybe a drill? And I'm just like, all right, what is happening? I was like, I'm pretty sure we don't have a drill. I was just like, but let me see if we have an extension cord. So I'm like looking all over the place, trying to find something, and I like find like a small extension cord. I'm just like, I was like, what do you plan on doing? He's like, well, I need to get down to the bathroom. You know, and I'm just like, what did you do? Like, what happened here? And he's just like, well, I was in the bathroom and somehow my like father's ring fell in between the wall. And like part of the bathroom wall was like the dry rock, you know, the dry, whatever, the wall. And then like halfway down was brick. And he's like, I dropped my grandfather's ring down behind the wall. And we're all just like, we're all in the service industry. We're no clowns. You know, we're just like, really? And we're like, okay, so you lost your grandfather's ring. And we're just like, okay, let's see what we can do.
Suspect.
Yeah, it was very suspect. And we were just like, okay. But I was just like, I'm sorry. I was just like, we have this little extension cord. We have no drill. We don't know what you're going to plug into this extension cord. Like, and I go up to him and I'm like, yo, what the hell did you lose back there? He's like, good Lord, man. He's like, I lost like a whole ounce of cocaine back there. And we're just like, oh, so this is a priority. All right, we're on it. Next thing you know, it's like me, the other bartender, the server, a cook, the bar back, this like kid, you know, who's like 17. And unfortunately, his first job in the restaurant industry was working with us. And we're all a bunch of nuts. Yeah, just like, and it was like full on like, all right, well, this is like a whole military action. Like everybody.
We got to help this guy.
This is it. Plan of action. What are we going to do? And it was just like, you know, one of the bartenders like, I have really long arms. And he's like, oh, I'm going to get down there. It's like, Wiley, you're the youngest. You're skinny as hell. Get your ass down there. He's like, what am I looking for? Don't you ask questions. Just get down there and put your arm in that wall. Well, needless to say, none of us were skinny enough to put our arm down there. We all finally at like 3 o'clock in the morning just gave up on the whole thing. But I'm pretty sure that to this day, there's still probably an ounce of cocaine hidden between that wall. And everybody was just a little bit disappointed in the failure of our mission.
8 balls. Well, thank you so much for being here with us. You're a fucking legend. And what a story. Like, what a...
So happy to have been a part of your series. It's a pleasure and an honor. And I'm thrilled to be here.
Yes, thank you so much, Don.
My pleasure.
For tuning in. Please like and subscribe. And we'll be back soon with new content.
Cheers.